Welcome back to Basement Movie Room. We're back with another review, and this time we're doing The Sadness, a Taiwanese film from, I believe, 2021 is what we found out. I don't think I can describe the plot of this film very easily. It's very difficult to describe because it's more a visual film.
Yeah.
It's visual and visceral. That would be sure. So I can describe a little bit. Essentially, this movie is about a virus in Taiwan they call it the Alvin virus, funny enough. I asked where Simon and Theodore are.
Yeah.
But essentially, and although it never says if the virus is the actual cause of what happens in this movie, it just, you guess it is. So we're talking about Alvin virus. It's a pandemic, which, funny enough, they were shooting this in probably 2020, 2021. When we were in the throes of a pandemic, especially in China, where it started. Of course, Taiwan, not exactly China. They call themselves Republic of China. It's a different thing. China claims them. They don't want to be claimed by China. Nonetheless, this is set in Taiwan. I believe it was shot in Taiwan as well. So the movie opens up following a young Taiwanese couple. And one of them's got to go to work. One of them doesn't really have a job. The man doesn't have a job. The woman has a good job, from what I can tell. Mm-hmm. So she's going to work, and there's kind of like indications that something's going on in the community with this virus, but it's not. They're not that worried about it, from what I understand. So she leaves. The guy in the movie, Jim. I'm pretty sure they added those names because I'm pretty sure his name isn't Jim and her name is Kat. I'm pretty sure that's not their names for real in Chinese. So I think they went easy for us on subtitles. But his name is Jim, and he's like out on the balcony talking to his neighbor, and he sees like an old lady on the roof like being weird across the way, and he's like, "Hey, old lady, are you okay?" She doesn't respond. The neighbor is a pandemic denier. He's like, "Oh, this is all bullshit. They're just doing this to mess up the economy and all this." So you get a little bit of that pandemic stuff in it that we clearly had in the United States as well. So there he kind of goes about his day. He ends up leaving the house on his scooter, taking her to the train stations where he takes her. Then he goes to this little like street food vendor for breakfast and orders a coffee. And as he's standing there waiting on the vendor, the old lady that we saw earlier kind of comes up and gets the whole process started, to be honest. She's clearly infected with something. She takes a basket of hot oil and fries and dumps it on the vendor's head and then pulls his skin off his face. Then she spits in the face of another guy. That guy goes crazy and attacks his friend with a knife.
And that's when
it's just
begins.
the whole wave of infection.
Yeah.
And I compared this to like 28 days later, kind of like the rage virus, where it's like these people can just kind of go crazy for killing. Except it gets a little bit worse in this movie.
A lot of similarities, but
it's way worse because
it's almost like a X-rated.
Yeah,
version.
I mean, you get sexual violence in this movie. You get extreme, some of the ultra violence in this movie with some of the kills.
They're very motivated by sex.
Yeah, it's like we get a scientist later that says it's like making them live through their limbic region, which is the aggression and sexual region of the brain, is what he says.
It's almost like rabies.
Yeah, it's like rabies, kind of. Rape-ease.
Rabies.
Because there is, and you can't watch this movie if you have aversions to watching extreme violence, sexual violence, that kind of stuff. None of it's like outright shown per se. I mean, you see a little bit like some bad sexual violence stuff.
It's suggested.
And there's a pretty heavy scene of terrible sexual violence. So there's a few scenes of that, and then there's just some straight up zombie sex as well in the movie.
Yeah.
But we follow Jim and Kat most of the movie and them trying to survive. The neighbor comes over, cuts two of Jim's fingers off the middle two fingers on his right hand, I think it is, with like these shears. I think it's his right hand.
Yeah.
And Cat's on a subway train, and that is, oh god, that scene.
Oh,
They love the blood in this movie.
So
there are
much.
buckets of blood. I'm talking like what Carrie got poured on her. Multiply that times about 200, because the train scene is just like a massive 50-gallon drum of blood in that scene, and it's mostly knife violence in that scene. People stabbing. There's an umbrella as well, but we get this old man who's trying to talk to Kat before he's infected on the train, and he's being a little creepy and like touches her, and she freaks out and gets mad at him, and you can tell he's kind of like
a little creepy.
Yeah, he's a little creepy, and maybe
in
like
a subtle way.
Yeah, it's subtle. It's kind of like, oh, I'm not bothering you really. I'm just being nice. It's one of those I'm a good guy, but he's really not a good guy type things. He gets infected. He has an umbrella, stabs a girl right in the eye with it. The eye's going to come back later. Don't want to spoil that part for you. But she gets running from him. He becomes somewhat the main bad guy in the movie, because he's like stalking Kat because he wants to
just that
violate and murder her.
Yeah, that sexual. Yeah, he's wanting to rape her.
So
this is a rape movie.
Yeah, it's pretty significant in that in those terms. There is no doubt you have to know that going in, which I knew it, but I didn't know how far it was going to go. It goes a long way.
Oh yeah,
but
they don't hold back.
It does not hold back whatsoever.
Nothing is held back.
No, they don't hold much back in this one. There's a lot of craziness in this one, but Kat escapes from him and gets to a hospital, and it kind of all goes downhill at the hospital as well. Meanwhile, Jim is fighting his way to try to get there. She gets a guy's phone, lets him know where she is, so he's able to get there. Jim starts acting weird at times on the way there, so it's a pretty good indication he's infected at some point.
But it did a decent job of, like, is he...
Yeah,
or
they
is
don't
he
they don't
not?
give it to you outright until the very end.
Yeah.
That he is ultimately. Kat, on the other hand, is immune, because she runs into a crazy doctor who's been experimenting on babies in that hospital.
Yeah.
You get an infected baby, and he specifically injects her with the virus to see if she's immune, and she does not, at least on screen that we see her, be infected. And it's, spoilers obviously for the end of the movie, but Jim ultimately comes and actually kind of saves her, even though he's infected, because the doctor is like dragging her, and he's infected at that point, I'm pretty sure.
And
he hasn't shown
wants her.
He wants her to basically use her to try to find the cure. He's a virologist that was trapped in this hospital, and the military's coming to get him with a helicopter. So Jim shows up, and like he gets his foot. That doctor gets his foot sliced off by another bad guy, and the Axe, that is a very prime character in this movie. To be honest, the Axe is a character.
Yeah.
But Jim shows up. He tries to kill Jim with his gun that he 3D printed. He made sure to tell us that he 3D printed that gun, and it explodes in his hand while he's shooting it, which makes sense for a 3D printed gun. It's fucking plastic. So,
had a couple good shots out of it, though.
Yeah, he did get some good shots. He took a couple guys out. But Jim ends up killing the doctor. Meanwhile, Kat's able to escape through a gate with the doctor's keys to where the helicopter's coming. She talks to Jim, and Jim is talking crazy, but also real, because the doctor made it clear that the patients know exactly what they're doing, like the sick people, but they can't not do it, essentially. So he's telling her he loves her, and he actually means that, but he's also telling her he wants to do terrible things to her.
Yeah.
And, so she leaves him, goes on the roof. When she gets to the roof, we hear gunshots, so assumingly she's dead as well, being killed by the military, because they were expecting the doctor and not her. We don't know for sure, though.
Yeah, she's got blood all over her, too. So.
Yeah, it didn't help. Yeah. So who knows what the real ending is, but the ending of the movie ends on Jim's face, where he's just sitting there like with his black eyes smiling, basically.
Smiling.
Which the sadness ends on a smile.
Mm-hmm. So,
maybe it's the friends we made along the way. So that's the sadness.
Very gruesome.
It's a gruesome movie. It's not for everyone. You can buy the 4K Blu-ray on Amazon. It was a Vinegar Syndrome release. I don't know if you knew that. It was released through Vinegar Syndrome. I didn't buy it there because I missed out on it. So I bought it through Amazon when they had a different release. But yeah, it's a... I don't actually know
assumed it was.
I don't know if it was actually Vinegar Syndrome that released it or if it was one of the partner labels, but it was definitely a release.
I mean, it was well done.
Yeah, it's a well-done movie.
It had so many elements of every zombie movie that you can think of.
Yeah.
But it did its own thing.
Yeah, it definitely does its own thing.
Way more gruesome.
Yeah, I think it is actually a Vinegar Syndrome release. I'm trying to see.
I mean, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time.
Oh, it's definitely, it's tough to watch.
Yeah.
It really is. Extremely tough to watch.
I mean, even down to the guy with the shears.
Yeah.
Coming in.
Yeah.
You know.
The fingers, that's your first kind of idea of the violence that's going to take place in this. And then you get the
basketball
court. You got the
basketball court.
Oh,
crazy.
The basketball court.
Oh.
Yeah, with the...
So there's a lot of scenes that are just like, oh my God, what's going on?
It doesn't really let up either.
No.
It's constant. You get a couple breaks from the violence, but the violence is constant throughout it, pretty much.
Yeah, if you don't like blood, don't watch it.
If you don't like any kind of violence, definitely don't watch it.
Yeah.
Especially sexual violence, stay away from it as well. Because it's got a lot of that going on in it. And, you know, Asian films can be certainly more extreme than American films. But this one is you know, we did like Ebola syndrome a while back as well, which is also an extremely violent and sexual violent film. So, you know, you can rate it on that one. This is better than that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this one's a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a more competently made film, in my opinion, as well. Because this is very competently made. It's definitely got the edge of your seat stuff, like you were saying. There's no doubt there.
Yeah, and we were like, man, I can't wait for 28 years later.
Yeah, 28 years later. Definitely. Doubt there would be as much sexual violence.
No. No, I don't think they'll get away with that. But, yeah, I mean, it was entertaining.
If you can handle it, it's worth watching. Because I think it is a good film, but it's extremely hard to watch. Which some people can't handle that. I don't have a problem handling it. I can watch it. I understand that it's a movie. It's not real, you know, but certainly not one for the kids.
Yeah, no. You could understand the violence at times though, without seeing it.
Yeah,
because they could have went a lot worse.
Yeah,
than what was shown.
They could,
but they handled a lot of scenes actually pretty well with like not seeing. You know, the unseen is worse than seeing it.
Yeah,
I think they did a pretty good job of that in this movie. Yeah,
you can hear it. And that's enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sadness. So that's that, you know, and I'm pretty sure it was on Shudder, I think, as well. You can get it online on Shudder as well if you want to watch it. It's a Shudder original, meaning they bought the rights to it in the United States, essentially. But yeah, I don't have much more to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a sick bastard like we are,
sick son of a bitch,
check it out.
Botch. All right, so that's the sadness. We're gonna rate it. I mean, we can do it on the vinegar scale. It's not your typical Vinegar Syndrome release, though.
No,
it's more.
This is
more of a competently made film than the regular. So I'd say just a regular scale on this one. So I'll go first. I made you go first last time.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5.
3.5, huh?
Yeah, I think it's worth a 3.5.
I'm at a 4.
You're at a 4.
Yeah.
See, I thought about going 4, and I'm like,
I was almost 4.5.
The violence cuts it down for me. I think it's more violent than it really needs to be. I think it's on the edge of being exploitative.
The crazy amount of blood.
Yeah, it's exploitative at some point. 3.5, but I definitely could be a 4.
Yeah.
I definitely could be. So it's somewhere probably in between those two. But I think the exploitative violence draws it down a little bit to me because I think it could have been just as good without the extremity of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about like
that.
Train to Busan, which doesn't have that level of violence in it, which I don't think you've seen, but is an excellent movie. I would give that one 4 stars for sure. I think this is right there with it, but it's just I think they went extreme just to be extreme in some places, and I think that pulls it down a little bit for me.
I liked it because they kept the story simple.
Yeah. Oh, it's a simple
They didn't
story.
try to overplay the human element too much.
I think my favorite,
and it was just kind of just go.
I think my favorite part was the military announcement with the
president.
that was the best part.
Yeah.
We were like, something's going to happen.
Yeah, this is going to be bad.
And it was more than I expected.
Yeah.
We had a Scanners moment in there. The head was removed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, check it out.
that's the sadness. If you can handle that kind of violence and ultra violence and sexual violence,
It's rough.
it is rough. The train scene, I'd heard about it, and it lived up to it. It lived up to the fact that a lot of people probably turn it off at that point.
I mean, that train scene just kind of continued throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better after that.
No.
So if you get to that train scene, it's
'Cause
like it's hard to handle. It's like it's not getting better.
I mean, the ice scene was rough.
Ugh.
Not the initial part, but later
I know
on.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that the hospital.
The hospital it's all very
Crazy.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out.
All right, that's the sadness, and that's it for Basement Movie Room tonight.
Watch it on Halloween.
Watch it on Halloween. Watch it with your family at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. While you're cutting a turkey.
Get a surgical saw to cut your turkey. That comes into play in the movie.
Mm.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See you next year,
Man,
maybe.
who knows?
Maybe. Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll
Hopefully.
see.
All
We'll
right.
see what we're allowed.
Yeah. All right, that's a wrap.
Bye.
Bye.
It's probably the best we've ever done.